Next on the Broadway Show, The Best in the West, I'm talking to the rising star of the new West Side Story movie musical, Rachel Zegler, and iconic filmmaker Steven Spielberg. Plus, change is gonna come. We're talking to one of the stars of Caroline or Change, Samantha Williams. And it's Broadway's trippiest new musical. We'll talk to Tony Yazbeck, one of the stars of Flying Over Sunset, about playing Cary Grant on acid. I'm Tamsen Fadal, and this is the Broadway Show. The Broadway Show is back with another stellar episode. I'm Tamsen Fadal.
Tonight, it all began tonight. I saw you and the world went away.
This is a must-see movie musical event of the year, the reimagining of West Side Story from master director Steven Spielberg. The film features a star-making performance from Rachel Zegler in her very first movie. I had a chance to talk with both the actress and the filmmaker. So Rachel, let me start with you. How does this feel for you?
Oh my gosh, loaded question. It's surreal, it's overwhelming. It's a huge honor. I can't believe that this little group project we made 2.5 years ago is finally coming out. It's amazing.
You know, you're at the center of the frame right now. Talk a little bit about that. Talk about you and musicals that you've done in the past before, and how it all ended up here.
Yeah, much like Stephen, I was raised with a love of music and a love for classic musical theater. I was very fortunate enough to live in a close proximity to Manhattan, and therefore I got to see Broadway shows all the time. And it really started with the Disney Theatrical Company to see all of their musicals. I saw Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, Lion King, Mary Poppins. I saw all of those before I was introduced to the classics live on stage, like Phantom of the Opera and Les Mis. And West Side Story was just a huge part of my upbringing. And now it's come full circle in a way. But on stage, I didn't do professional theater. Unlike a lot of our cast, this was my first professional gig. And so I really credit my learning curve to my experience on stage. And, I started on Fiddler on the Roof, and then all the way to doing Maria on stage when I was 16. And now that legacy is immortalized forever in a Steven Spielberg film.
I feel like you got a good teacher there sitting next to you.
He's pretty good.
Oh yeah, I was, because I was also on a learning curve because this may have been Rachel's first professional job, the first time she was in front of a camera, but this is my first musical. So I had a very steep learning curve. I've been a fan of musicals my entire life, but you can't be a fan and a director of musicals just because you're a fan. I've seen every Arthur Freed production of every single MGM musical ever made, and still it doesn't prepare you to be a director of musicals. I surrounded myself with some of the best people from Broadway. Instead of bringing Broadway to Hollywood and making him do it my way, I basically had them adopt me, and I came and found Tony winning Tony Kushner, and Paul Tazwell, who did the costumes for Hamilton, and Justin Peck, the associate director of the New York City Ballet Company, and certainly Janine Tesori, with all of her Broadway work. And I picked the best and the brightest to help me acclimate to this sort of new genre that I'm so happy I've had a chance to sample and retire on. I'm not making any more musicals. I'm not making any more
No more musicals
after this.
We're done.
This satisfied me.
Never say never. Never say never.
No, never say never. But in terms of, I don't know, maybe I'll do a stage play someday. But that's another frontier I've never imagined doing.
Boy.
But the making of this, the reimagining of West Side Story is one of the greatest dreams I've ever had come true in my entire career.
What were the challenges, though, of remaking a cultural icon like the original West Side Story? Where do you begin?
Well, you begin with the integrity of the source material by 4 geniuses who put this thing on the boards in 1957. Every decision I made was based on the original Broadway play, not the 1961 movie directed by my friend, Robert Wise. This was something that I really wanted to honor the original bones of the original story and its own obligation to Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, which they were very certainly upfront about. Jerome Robbins was. And I just wanted this story to be for this generation. Sadly, and not oddly, more sadly than oddly, the generation this film's intended to be that we designed for never saw West Side Story on television or in a movie theater, and they probably haven't heard the songs, and they haven't they don't know the story. This will be something new for all of them, which is the reason I made this movie now.
It's Broadway's must-see musical of the moment, the electrifying revival of Caroline or Change.
Tough and dreary and all disheveled, 16 feet below sea level.
They're led by Olivier Award winner Sharon D. Clarke. Another one of the undeniable stars of Caroline or Change is Samantha Williams. She plays the daughter of Caroline. Let's go ahead and send it out to Paul Wontorek.
It is such a beautiful journey this character gets to go on through the show. The audience really gets to see her have an awakening.
It's great. I mean, everything is on the paper. It's all on the page, so it's not too hard to look for things. It's all just there for us because Tony Kushner is incredible, and Janine's music kind of gives you everything that you need to go on that journey. It's been amazing. It's very emotional, but amazing to tell this story right now.
You got cast in this show before COVID-19, before Broadway shut down. And I'm sure in a lot of ways it must have been interesting to be watching the world start to have a lot of these same conversations or revelations that your character, your 15-year-old character, has in the show.
Despite all the horrible things that COVID brought, I really feel like that time was a gift for me personally. I was back home in Texas, so I was really in the thick of the racial awakening or whatever, and I just took time with the text to parallel everything that happened in the 60s to right now and just see how similar everything was, and getting to experience that firsthand was scary, but also taught me a lot, and I get to use that every night.
It's also a sort of a beautiful tribute, I think, to a generation of women.
Yeah.
Have you met any women like that, or sort of talked to anyone who lived through the civil rights era?
Yeah, I mean, my grandmother.
Yeah.
Chip Zine, he's not a woman, but he's in our cast, and he tells me stories all the time about just his experience as a teenager during that time. It was a different time, but also not a lot has changed, so I feel like I can use my own experiences as well, for sure.
Did you know this show before you stepped into it? I mean, it was done on Broadway before you got to Broadway, obviously, but is it the kind of show, did you know your song is so fantastic?
Yeah, I did know it. Our freshman year at Pace University, our artist in residence was Janine Tesori, so she came into the school to talk to us, and she wanted to do a workshop version of Caroline or Change, and I was cast as Caroline my freshman year.
Oh, wow.
We basically put on the show in a week and a half, college style, and did a walk around reading kind of thing. Basically did the show holding the binders. And so that's my first introduction to it, and then when I saw that it was auditioning, I was like, I have to.
Broadway dimmed the lights this week for a fallen icon. Legendary American musical theater composer Stephen Sondheim died November 26. The success story started early. He was a lyricist for West Side Story in 1957, but his work continues to shine to this day. A revival of Company just opened this week on Broadway. He was 91 years old. Still plenty more to talk about on this edition of the Broadway Show. Up next, we're catching up with an icon. Melba Moore joins us to talk about her legendary career. Broadway is back, and so is the Broadway Show. Thanks for sticking around. I'm Tamsen Fadal. Melba Moore is a legend, a Tony Award winner and longtime veteran of both stage and screen. Let's go ahead and send it out to Paul Wontorek.
Melba Moore joined the ranks of Broadway's elite when she earned a Tony Award in 1970 for her unforgettable performance in the musical Hurley. I got a chance to catch up with the music and theater icon at Cafe Fiorello, just steps away from Lincoln Center. I actually love sitting with you because one thing that happened to me during COVID was I found myself reconnecting with a lot of the musicals and the stars that made me fall in love with Broadway. I got a record player and listening to vinyl and Vinyl of You and some of these amazing shows that came before. How does that all feel to you? YouTube clip. People watch your YouTube clip of you in Pearly, right? I mean, that's like people love that song. And
well, first of all, one of the great things about Pearly is I had probably a revelation to have my then manager husband ask Philip Rose, who directed and produced it, to put it on film so people could continue to see it. Otherwise, a lot of people would not know about it at all.
Right, yeah.
Every day is sunny 'cause I got love. I got love. Sweeter than a flower.
That was many years ago that you were in Pearly. I don't need to count. We don't need to count how many. And it was at the time one of the first sort of all-black musicals. So I'm wondering, someone like you, who I consider a trailblazer of that time, how do you look at this new conversation about the need for diversity?
It's a progressive movement of humanity evolving to be in love with each other, to understand that we're a family, and to celebrate the differences, and to have them be new frontiers for us. We don't know, but we're open to learn. That's amazing to keep happening,
What do you remember about that night that you won the Tony Award?
Not a lot, but I play the tape. Because the experience was so overwhelming for me. I'd never studied acting. My first play was Hair.
Yeah, Hair is one of those, people must always ask you about Hair. I mean, that's sort of like, and they always want to know they want to know if you were naked.
In the beginning, I didn't want to do it, but then I got curious, so I did it.
How'd that feel?
Very strange. I'm used to my privacy when I'm naked. Since I haven't spent a lot of time lately doing theater, I spent a lot of time in the R&B recording field. I meet a lot of black people who never saw Hair and don't know about it, because it was a hippie movement. The thing that people know about Hair now, most people, regardless of background, is that I replaced Diane Keaton.
That's the thing they all.
And of course, you know, Diane Keaton's really not replaceable.
You know, when you're a kid getting into it, you just kind of want to do anything. But now I feel like you probably have more focus. What kind of projects like get you excited?
For me to come back to Broadway should be in music.
Yeah.
That's very broad, but
Yeah.
there's so many good ones. And I've been away from it to know the names of everything so much.
Right.
I've really been focused on recordings. And that's been my tool for keeping my instrument good and to stay in front of people. And so now I'm getting offers for people to either create things for me or to bring me back. And fortunately, I've got a lot of people that's in theater. They know all the plays that might be good for me. So actually, I have people looking for projects for me to do that I know are going to be great. And more than likely, I won't have to audition now.
This is the Broadway Show, and we're back in just a few. Flying Over Sunset just touched down on Broadway in November, and it is a trip of a lifetime. Flying Over Sunset is a work of fiction, but it's inspired by a trio of incredible historical figures: diplomat Claire Booth Luce, writer Aldous Huxley, and film icon Cary Grant, all coming together at a crossroads in their lives, and all dropping acid. It's true, they all experimented with LSD. Charlie Cooper caught up with the man who plays Cary Grant, Tony Yazbeck.
What does it feel like right now, like in this moment, to be in front of Lincoln Center, knowing that you'll be on stage very soon for Flying Over Sunset?
Well, tickets are on sale right now for the show. I just can't believe I said that. So it's amazing just to be here. I haven't even been at Lincoln Center in months and months, even just to walk through. But to remember what we were about to do that night in our first preview that got shut down, we were having a blast, and it was what we were all born to do. And I was working with this amazing cast, and we were just playing on stage, and we were starting to change things and fix things and make it even better than it was. And now we get to go back and resume and put on the show in front of a live audience for the first time, and that's just going to be thrilling.
You tap dance and sing in the show, of course, and I remember reading on your Instagram that tap dancing throughout the pandemic was therapeutic for you.
Oh yeah.
Talk about that.
I mean, tap dancing for me has always been an art form that's almost like an essence of prayer. And I say that in a sense of anything I'm feeling that day, I can stomp it out on the floor. I can find some new rhythm, some new sonic heartbeat within it, and just send it up. And then I can breathe again. It's a way to inhale and exhale as an artist. And I'm just happy I was gifted with a little bit of tap, and now I can even pass it on to my son. And but it's a therapeutic way for me to get through the day sometimes. And so it's still happening, and it ebbs and flows with so many different emotions. But that's what's so beautiful about dance, but especially tap is the way you can maneuver it through emotional qualities, through a story, through that character. And that's what I get to do with Flying Over Sunset.
Yeah, I have to ask, is your son into it, or?
He's probably a little more into like cars and trucks still, but I'm getting him there, and he loves, his favorite song right now is Stupid Love, Lady Gaga. I mean, he's like in it, and he like really goes through, so when the music's slow, he's like moving really slow, and he finds something, and I'm like, ooh, a nice, like, interpretive modern movement, and then all of a sudden, the beat hits and he's just like jamming on the floor, like hitting it. And I'm like, yes, express yourself. You know? So yeah, I hope he keeps going, but I'm not gonna force it. Let's put it that way.
They pick me up in the morning and drive me to the set. Groom me, wax me, dress me, light me. Every need is met. Gorgeous women flirt with me, sometimes men, and yet none of it is real.
So you, of course, played the legendary Cary Grant.
Yeah.
What's that like playing a real person? Is there that extra pressure to get it right?
Of course. I mean, everybody knows who Cary Grant is, and it's really tough because the guy was this gentleman, and he was just like this really good-looking, like, role model of what a Hollywood celeb back then was, and he was his own thing, and he constantly reinvented himself on screen. And so it was really difficult at first to figure out how to do this, because I obviously didn't want to make a carbon copy. But there is pressure to anytime I hit a role that is a real character, I want to invent something, but at the same time, it's like I want to be able to pay respects to what it was, to what he was. And so it's almost like if he's looking down, I can go, is that okay with you? It is good, just I have your blessing. And so that's my constant attack on a role like that. And to be able to play him, to sing as Cary Grant, to dance as Cary Grant, is really, really exciting.
Yeah. Ultimate compliment, I imagine, right?
I mean, I guess I would not say Cary Grant, like that's just not me. I don't go, hey, can I play Cary Grant? That's just, that's not usually how I approach that.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, I'll try my best. Here we go. Give me some good costuming, and they do.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah. Okay, so of course LSD is a psychedelic. Does the audience get the chance to kind of go through that motion with you through the set design? Do things change while they're watching it, where it feels like their mind is being changed a little bit, the way that the drug would do?
Oh, this creative team went all out. And James Lapine has this vision like a painter. So he sees things moving at all times. Beowulf Bullerit just creates this amazing set that moves and ebbs and flows. The lights change as we sing, and all of a sudden you think you're seeing one thing, and 5 seconds later it's another.
Talk about the music, talk about working with James Lapine. Of course, we know him for so many classics.
Yeah. James Lapine, for years, I mean, Sunday in the Park with George has always been like my favorite show. It has changed my life so many times at different points in my life. I've always wanted to work with the guy. And to be able to go one-on-one and collaborate has been a dream.
How I miss the shores of California, strolling on the soft white sand, sliding off my bra, pantyless in La La Land.
So Tom Kitt's music, the best score I've heard of his ever, in my opinion. And I've been a fan of his for years. Next to Normal was profound, but he is really interesting in the way he works, where every scene and every character has a new style. And he uses different genres in the show, and he puts it together, and it's all Tom Kitt. It is just beautiful, and Michael Corey adds impeccable lyrics to the point at which you go, gosh, that's so cool. I wish I could have thought of that, and only he would have thought of that. So we're just really proud of how it's all come together.
And that's going to do it for us. Until next time, I'm Tamsen Fadal, and this is The Broadway Show.